Before you take any trade, there's one question that matters more than anything else. Which way is this market actually moving? Today we're reviewing 4 trend detection tools, each built on different logic, to see which ones actually hold up. Trendline's version 2, created by Lonesome the Blue, automatically identifies and draws trend lines by detecting pivot highs and pivot lows across a user-defined period, then connecting those pivots to form valid uptrend and downtrend lines in real time. The core logic stores recent pivot points in arrays, then tests each combination to find a rising lower boundary or a falling upper boundary, where price has not closed beyond the line at any point in between. If every bar between 2 pivots respects that boundary, the line is considered valid and drawn. This validation step is what separates it from simpler trendline tools that connect pivots without checking whether intermediate price action actually honored that slope. In practical trading, the indicator works best on swing trading timeframes, where a pivot period of around 20 bars gives enough room to define meaningful structural levels. Scalpers will find the lag frustrating, since a pivot is only confirmed after the full pivot period has elapsed on both sides. For position traders or anyone analyzing chart structure, it removes the subjectivity of drawing trend lines manually and delivers a consistent, rules-based result. Strategy applications are straightforward. Traders can use uptrend lines as dynamic support to enter long positions on retests, or watch for a close below as a breakdown signal. Customization is functional but minimal. Users can set a start date, adjust the pivot period, and choose how many pivot points are checked per validation. There are no alerts, no option to extend lines into the future, and no line width controls, which are omissions that limit its practical utility in live trading environments. The pivot validation loop is genuinely useful and gives the lines more credibility than simple pivot connecting tools. It misses alerts and forward line extension, which are practical omissions that limit its use in active trading setups. The close-based validation ignoring wicks is a real methodological choice traders should understand before relying on it. Deviation Trend Profile, created by Big Beluga, combines a color-coded simple moving average with ATR-based standard deviation bands and a price distribution profile that rebuilds itself each time the trend direction changes. The moving average sits at the center, shifting color dynamically based on its momentum relative to recent values. When the average crosses above a threshold, it turns bullish. When it drops below, it turns bearish. Surrounding it are 6 deviation bands, calculated using ATR rather than statistical standard deviation despite the name, positioned at 1, 2, and 3 multiples above and below the average. These bands act as dynamic zones showing how extended price is relative to its recent baseline. The distribution profile is where the indicator distinguishes itself. Each time the trend flips, it resets and begins recording where price has spent the most time within the deviation range since that flip. It divides the price range into bins, counts how many bars closed within each bin, and renders horizontal boxes offset to the right of price. The result is a sideways histogram showing price density for the current trend leg, giving traders a sense of value area and potential mean reversion levels without leaving the chart. In live trading, this combination is genuinely useful for identifying whether price is stretched beyond normal range and where the bulk of recent activity has been concentrated. Traders can use the outer deviation bands as potential reversal or target zones, and the profile clusters as support and resistance within the current trend. It fits naturally into a mean reversion framework or as a context layer for momentum strategies. Customization covers SMA length, 3 independent deviation multipliers, bin count for the profile, offset distance, and color themes for both trend directions. No alerts are included, which is a notable gap for a tool with clear signal events like trend flips. The combination of dynamic trend detection with a resetting distribution profile adds genuine analytical depth beyond what either component would offer alone. Using ATR instead of true standard deviation is a meaningful distinction that affects how the bands behave and is worth understanding before building a strategy around them. The absence of alerts on trend changes is a practical omission that holds it back from being a more complete trading tool. Trend Type Indicator, created by Bob Rivera 990, is a separate pane oscillator that classifies current market conditions into one of three states: uptrend, downtrend, or sideways, using a combination of ATR and ADX logic to make that determination. The classification works by running two independent filters simultaneously. The ATR filter compares current ATR against its own moving average, treating a reading at or below that average as low volatility and therefore sideways. The ADX filter uses a configurable threshold, defaulting to 25, below which the market is also considered sideways regardless of directional bias. If either filter flags sideways conditions, the oscillator stays at 0. When both filters agree that a trend is present, the plus DI and minus DI values determine whether it reads as +2 for uptrend or -2 for downtrend. A smoothing factor then averages those discrete values to reduce noise before plotting. There is also a lag input that shifts the line backward on the chart to help align the oscillator visually with the price action that caused the reading. In practical use, this works well as a filter rather than a standalone signal. Traders can use it to avoid taking trend-following entries during sideways periods, or to confirm that a breakout is supported by genuine directional momentum before committing. Pairing it with a price action entry trigger on the main chart makes more sense than trading the oscillator directly. Customization is reasonable, covering ATR length and moving average type, ADX smoothing and threshold, smoothing factor and lag offset. Both ATR and ADX filters can be toggled independently, which adds flexibility. Combining ATR and ADX into a single trend state classification is a practical idea, and the ability to toggle each filter independently is a thoughtful design choice. The three-state output is clean but oversimplified, losing the nuance of how strong or weak a trend actually is. No alerts and no visual connection to the main price chart limit how much workflow value it adds in real trading. Trend Meter, created by Lodge_MC, is a separate pane confluence tool that combines three independently configurable trend meters, two moving average trend bars, wave trend signals, and a positive and negative pressure indicator into a single dashboard designed to confirm directional bias before entering a trade. The three trend meters each run a chosen method from a shared list of options, including fast and standard MACD crossovers, RSI above or below 50 on two different lengths, an RSI signal line cross using linear regression, Heikin-Ashi-based trend candles, and a momentum system borrowed from Top Dog Trading. When all three align in the same direction, a larger signal dot appears above them, and the background of the panel highlights to reinforce that confluence moment. That alignment signal is the core output the indicator is built around. The two trend bars below operate separately using configurable moving average pairs, with options for crossover state or individual MA direction. They add a slower, smoother layer of confirmation that complements the faster meters above. Wave trend crossovers can optionally be required to coincide with the 3-meter alignment, tightening the signal criteria for traders who want additional confluence before acting. The positive and negative pressure signals fire when RSI 14 and wave trend are simultaneously in extreme territory, and the wave trend delta is pointing in the expected reversal direction. These are meant as caution signals rather than entry triggers, flagging conditions where momentum may be exhausted. In practical trading, this works best as a filter or timing layer. Watching for all 3 meters to align, with the trend bars in agreement, gives a reasonable basis for confirming a setup found elsewhere on the chart. The alert suite is genuinely comprehensive, covering every meaningful combination of meter alignment, trend bar state, and wave trend interaction, which makes it more actionable in live trading than most confluence tools. Customization is deep. Each of the 5 components is independently configurable, all 3 signal types can be toggled, and the alert library covers virtually every condition the indicator can produce. The modular design lets traders build a confluence framework tailored to their own methodology rather than accepting a fixed set of conditions, which is genuinely useful. Stacking 5 components in one panel risks visual overload, and the sheer number of alert options adds complexity that newer traders may struggle to navigate. The underlying methods are all standard, so the value comes entirely from the combination and configurability, rather than any novel logic. We have recently introduced the complete QR Pro BST ecosystem. One workflow, 3 tools. Backtest your settings, scan for opportunities, and trade with confidence. Link in the description if you want to see how it works.